All right, let's call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. So if everybody can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's right behind us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, do we have any public input or announcements? I don't have any emails.
And I'm aware of.
Okay. And can I have an approval of the minutes from 10:04?
wait.
Agenda.
Wait,
Yep.
huh?
Agenda. We didn't do these.
Oh, can I have approval of the agenda for tonight?
One thing I would request is an executive session right before personnel. So right when we get there, 10A, for the purposes of discussing employee evaluation.
I will, second that.
So with that edit, I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Sorry, I didn't have anyone. to-
Unanimous?
Okay. Now we don't have any public input. And then can I have an approval of the minutes, from 10:04?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Who's our minute taker?
I'm scratching some down because there was a last minute emergency that
Okay.
popped up, so, yeah. Between the PEG TV recording and my notes, we'll piece it together.
Okay. Did you?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes or changes?
The only question that I have as I was reading through it, it was very, very detailed, which is good, but does it need to be is there too much in the minutes? Like, because one of them was just a solid page of just text. And I don't know if that seems like it's too much information, or how do we
Typically,
feel?
it's highlights.
Yeah, so I think maybe,
We've had calls in the past for our minutes or agendas to be more specific,
Okay.
but I wonder if there's maybe a middle ground, and we can
I'm
definitely.
not against it, it's
Yeah.
just digital data, right? But
Yeah.
Right.
to Josh's point,
Yeah, we can try and reach a middle ground maybe, where it's more detailed than maybe what we've had in the past, but maybe not as lengthy as what this last one was. I think that's reasonable. Yeah. Yep. I'll chat with Rebecca and we can do that. But I'm not hearing that we want to do anything. These minutes
Nothing
can
needs to
stand
be-
as they
yeah.
are. Okay. Okay. Right on.
Okay. All in favor?
Abstaining, because I wasn't
Okay.
there.
Okay. On to Shrewsbury. Update.
That's you, Kristen. Yep.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming up. I affectionately call this school the Miracle in the Mountains. We have had a really, really wonderful start to the school year this year, and I'm really excited about being in year 2 as principal up here. Last night was the fall showcase concert at Mill River, standing room only, and our musicians have come out of a COVID season just like so excited about singing and playing together and making music. And the same thing is happening up here, where students are really able to build relationships. This is like cute little wildlife slides for you. So my staff and I kind of took a couple of staff meetings just to talk about what we wanted to share with you. And one of the things that we've been tasked to do as elementary schools is create a school goal for the year. And my staff, when they thought about what they wanted to share with you, were really excited about bringing you into this shared understanding of what our teachers are so passionate about. And up here at Shrewsbury, we do have a sustainability focus. We have outdoor classrooms. We try to take as many opportunities for kids to move, to play, and to learn outdoors as well as indoors. And they set a very specific goal this year around curriculum. So they wanted me to share that with you tonight and also give you a little bit of an update, because you guys were up here in June. It was pouring that day. I don't know if you remember. And I want to give you a little update on everything that's going on campus with our sustainability. So this year, our teachers crafted this specific goal, which is students will engage with new curriculum implemented by the teachers in order to make progress toward their individual proficiency goals. Our teachers at Shrewsbury are super dedicated and are all about like academic growth and meeting students where they're at, being able to kind of craft and design scaffolded lessons so they're able to get what they need and to be able to move forward with their individual goals. So thanks to the amazing coordination of Jody Stewart-Ruck, we have 4 separate curriculums this year that all 4 of our elementary schools are diving into. Some of them are brand new, some of them are just kind of like now coordinated at all 4 elementary schools. And my teachers really wanted you to know what they were because they're spending a lot of time like really planning and preparing and really becoming familiar with this curriculum in order to design lessons that are customized for all of their students' needs in their classrooms. And many of them are teaching multi-grade. We only have one classroom, the 2nd grade classroom, which is a single grade. So we have a new math curriculum. It's in our 2nd year, Eureka 2. It's an interactive pre-K-6 math program that addresses Common Core math standards and emphasizes mathematical discourse, conceptual knowledge, and written work. So that's our Eureka 2. We have lots of materials that our teachers have really appreciated to be able to support their lesson designing with that curriculum. We also, you've probably been hearing a lot about our bookworms, which is the ELA. We started going through the NIC last year. We have several teachers in our building go through that, and now I even took the NIC training this summer, and we're like full-fledged into the bookworms curriculum for this year, and it's a research-based 3-part curriculum with reading, writing, and word study. And it consists of explicit instruction in the 3 45-minute blocks, which is a huge portion of a student's day, really focused around ELA, which is shared reading, ELA, which is like writing, and the word study. So there's 3 45-minute components of that daily. And they're really being like dedicated to dive into that and making sure that that works within their classroom structure and in their scheduled minutes. We also have a brand new TCI social studies curriculum, which is an inquiry-based, developmentally appropriate social studies curriculum that uses primary resources, projects, and interactive online activities. The students are so excited about this curriculum. I was able to observe Sabrina McDonough in the 5th and 6th grade classroom really start to dive into some of the social studies activities that are happening, and there's a really great like online platform where they're able to see like actual photos of artifacts to be able to study them and to dive deeper into some of the concepts and the curriculum's really lending itself to that. And then our teachers have been doing mystery science for a while, but I believe all 4 elementary schools are all doing this year, which is the next generation science standards are aligned and it's hands-on science. Students love this program. Like it's a really, really great curriculum. And it has application of science and engineering practices while building conceptual knowledge. It's really hands-on, and the kids love it. So these 4 things, like the teachers are lifting all of these 4 curriculums, which is a big lift, but they're proud of it, and they're diving into it, and they're passionate about it. And so they've crafted this. When teachers have an in-depth knowledge and experience with curriculum, they are able to anticipate student needs. As teachers utilize the structure and content of the curriculum, they are able to customize lessons and scaffold skill building so that each student can be successful and meet their individual goals. And that's their passion for this year, is to really have in-depth experience for that. The other piece of this puzzle is our coordinated supports. Lindsay Kudermarsh is our full-time special educator here at the Mountain School, and she is also our EST 504 and IEP program coordinator. And we pride ourselves on kind of this referral and intervention process. I affectionately call it the big hug. And there's an old farmhouse table that I had in the back of my barn that I took out last year, put in my office, where teachers get to collaborate during their lunchtime. And we also collaborate around that table to kind of bring all of the experts to the table, literally, to meet students with everything they need. Whether it be our guidance counselor, whether it be our speech and language pathologist, whether it be our school psychologist, our classroom teacher, the parents. We try to partner with everyone so that students are getting all of the things that they need to be able to be successful and meet their goals. So you might ask, well, how are you going to do that? This is a big lift, right? These are 4 big curriculums. And so our teachers and I have kind of designed a 3-step strategy for trying to make this effective this year in our schools. So the first strategy is we already have built in collaboration time in our professional learning communities, which is one Tuesday a month. We have staff meetings the second and fourth Tuesdays, and then we also have curriculum work where they're actually meeting online through Google Meet with their grade band of teachers within the district. So they can share success and they can collaborate and struggle, and they can really make sure that they're aligning themselves with what they're doing together with curriculum. So it's like our first built-in time where they're gonna be able to have grade level specific attention to the curriculum. The second strategy is, this is their suggestion, and I was like, yes, please. I am going to go into a classroom and provide coverage for teachers to be able to observe their peer that is teaching the grade level above them. So one of the things that they really some of the curriculum that they want to dive into needs skill and stamina for a student to be able to really focus for the length of time needed to really absorb the depth of the curriculum and the knowledge. And so I'm going to push in to a classroom, enabling that teacher to be able to go up and observe their upper level colleague and know exactly what skills and exactly what stamina and what the expectations are of that next grade level, so they can be scaffolding them to be prepared for that grade level the next year. And obviously we need to analyze data. How are we going to know if our individual students are meeting their goals and really progressing? And we're going to be analyzing the STAR 360 testing and math and ELA to kind of really just take stock. Where are we seeing our students grow? Where might we be seeing our students just kind of stay stagnant? And how can we strategize then to make sure that we see progress in that area and try to analyze data to make that happen? So that's our 3 strategies for progress. So I'm super proud of my teachers that they were brave and shared their school goal with you guys and how passionate they are about curriculum and having students really be able to, meet and exceed their expectations in these curriculum areas. Really fast, a sustainability update. Here's some photos for you because they're just so fun. We have a garden down below by the parking lot. I think we talked about it last year, and we have an orchard that's here between our walking path and our playground, and both of those things are going really well. We have kids that are smelling flowers and watching chrysalises, open butterflies. We have bluebird nest projects that we did last year that we have plans to continue with, and obviously we have our raised beds in our garden where kiddos are still planting and harvesting things this year. So that's a little update on our garden and our orchard. We also have really incredible Shrewsbury connections. We have a connection with Sage Agriculture Association. This is the compost shed that they have built, and they're building compost bins for our students to have an active role in composting. We have our 4 Winds parent volunteer outdoor and nature education program that's already happening. We have more planting. This is a tree that they're planting. And we also have Shrewsbury Day. And Shrewsbury is this really great community event where we have this big parade and the whole school and all the parents get to show up and just represent the school. So we have lots of connections and lots of community building projects that we're doing here at the school. We also love outdoor classroom. This is a really wonderful picture of this beautiful sun through the trees where these kids are learning on these little stumps. And we have wonderful outdoor classroom activities. And here's some students just doing some outdoor research. And here's our pre-K playing with their parachutes. Sometimes they play with it inside, sometimes they play with it outside. But our kids love to learn outside. And this month, this past Friday, did a harvest festival, and the whole month of October we're doing an apple theme. So these are some of our pre-K kids who are serving applesauce that they made in their classroom with Miss Melissa. They went around and got all of the staff members to be able to try their applesauce, which was fabulous, by the way, very sweet and wonderful. And at Shrewsbury, we also do multi-age things a lot. So we'll start as a big group. They eat in their lunch cafeteria tables in multi-age groups. And at the festival, they put multi-age groups together, and they rotated through 4 stations. So this station here was a Johnny Appleseed story, and then they did a geography unit where they were mapping where Johnny Appleseed went in his life with markers and maps. This was led by Ms. Levins, our 3rd and 4th grade teacher. These kids are doing a STEM activity with Ms. McDonough and Ms. Wyman where they're building baskets that can hold heavy apples. Like how many apples can they build with pipe cleaners and paper plates and all these really great activities. That's Ms. McDonough and Ms. Wyman. Up here, these kids are doing this really cute tree song. They're singing and doing a movement break, but Ms. Bonifine and Ms. Rice did a taste test activity where they tried different varieties of apples and they all voted. The chart's up here. Empire apples won, guys. That is the best apple, so make sure that you
Not Macintosh. Not
I like
Macintosh.
Honeycrisp.
I know, right? That Empire won
Good.
out of all of them. And the last activity was Miss Stricula and Miss Cootermarsh, and they were in the library and they were doing nutrition and teamwork and doing a bunch of teamwork activities. And every single kid got to go through each of the stations. And what's the most beautiful thing is watching our older students be leaders and just come alongside younger students and help them follow directions and help them put things on maps. So I'm really excited about how our students want to learn all together as a whole school. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thanks so much for letting me share. Any questions for me?
How about the new social studies program?
Yeah.
I also heard that there's like good resources in it. Are there things that are hiccups or problems in it, and how do you think you're gonna work to, like, what resources are you gonna use to help the teachers in those problems? Like, I know for the little kids, like, when you print out a thing, there's not lines on the paper, so like, they don't have space constraints. Are there any other things that you've seen so far, or like just in general with any of these new programs, and how are you supporting from a teacher level to all the way up to Jody?
Well, I could just, from my experience with what I've observed so far, Miss McDonough was using the curriculum in a lesson that I observed. She did mention to me that pacing, like she anticipated that the students would be able to go through the activity that she was planning a little bit quicker. And so that's one of the things that we've talked about as far as in-depth knowledge of the curriculum, to be able to anticipate needs. So she had artifacts out on all different tables, and the students were supposed to travel as little small groups to all the different tables and be able to experience everything, but she didn't have time for all the students to be able to get through everything. So that's just an example of, I don't know if it's necessarily a pitfall of the curriculum, but just her experience with curriculum to be able to either adjust so that she's using 2 lessons in that time frame to be able to do all those activities, or is she able to kind of pare down and say, well, it's probably okay if they just see 3 examples of these artifacts as opposed to 5 or 6. So I think that part of it is just adjusting and walking through the curriculum the first time. I also think that the grade level ability to talk to the other 6th grade teachers and talk to the other 5th grade teachers and be able to say, how are you doing with pacing, and what did you notice? And like, I was able to do this, but then my students didn't really seem to grasp this concept and I had to re-explain. And I think that just the collaboration of grade bands is super important to be able to make it viable as we move forward. I don't know if that fully
No, it
answered
did.
your question.
That's basically really all I cared about was support. Like,
Yes,
making sure the support is
absolutely.
there for the teachers.
And I think, something Kristen mentioned in the presentation, one of the strategies that she's employing is to cover for a teacher so they can go see another teacher. Sometimes our teachers have been pretty isolated, and they do great work in isolation sometimes, but knowing what their colleagues are doing really helps them understand the curriculum better and that vertical alignment of what are they doing in 3rd grade so that I pick up in the right place in 4th grade. I think there's always a challenge with new curriculum. We are going to figure a lot out, and you might notice that there were no teachers tonight. We talked a lot last year about it being important to create space for teachers to come and interact with the board. And last year we heard a lot of folks thanking us for that opportunity to be able to get some FaceTime with you and talk with you. We had a lot of conversations as a leadership team in the fall where we talked about honoring where our teachers are and the hard work they're doing and asking them, because this was always something that we told them was voluntary. Well, there's this challenge where, sometimes you say, well, this is voluntary, and people go, yeah, but I feel like I really need to do it, because they always want to pitch in and do everything. I think our Shrewsbury teachers absolutely trust Kristen to come and share with you, so you're not seeing no teachers here because they didn't want to be here. You're not seeing no teachers here because we didn't want them to be here. They're tired. They've got new curriculums, and they're really sorting through those and doing that work. And I think that's the, Len, you always ask, give us the good and the bad. I think the bad is we have some important things we're working on, and people are tired because they're doing the work. And I think that's it's worth acknowledging that.
Can I just,
Yep,
sorry, 'cause
go for it.
It will have implications once you guys start talking budget
Yeah.
around curriculum.
Yeah.
It is the first time, as I think Deborah said, in her, Deborah Gardner-Bosch's
Yeah.
career in like 30 years in middle river schools, that we've had district-wide coordinated curriculum in all 4 major subject areas at the elementary level.
Yep.
It is huge. It's also a huge ask of them.
Yeah.
And there are pluses and minuses to each one. So last year we purchased Eureka 2. We found out that they came with 2 different workbooks, Apply and Learn. They weren't using the Apply books because they were really like home-based books, because the teacher said getting through Learn is enough. And we haven't had time because of these workbooks to go fully into the online curriculum. And so we didn't buy the Apply books this year, which gave us the enough money to sneak in the workbooks for TCI. And then we bought the online TCI curriculum with grant funding. So it's like, there's 2 things going on. There's giving teachers the resources to try out, and then getting feedback about what we need and what we don't. And that's a bumpy road, right? No one's ever going to totally agree.
And we spent a lot of time when we had our beginning days to open up the year. We spent a lot of time, teachers and grade levels, sharing about how things are going. And our first release day, actually, we spent more time doing that. So our half day, people got together and talked about how is it going, we listened to folks when they said they were ready for a social studies curriculum, but we always want to check back in and see how it's going. So it's not like, hey, we've got it, we're done. And with the math, we didn't say, well, we bought both books, so you better use both books. We were receptive to, what did you get through? How did it work? What would work better? Sorry, I cut you off.
So with Bookworms, we had enough grant funding to buy 1 book for every 2 kids, which is what Bookworms says we should do. But some teachers are saying, gosh, I really need 1 book per 1 kid, even if they're doing paired shared reading, because I need to, when we go back to answer questions. And so that's something that we have to figure out. So math, science we've been using for years. That is not a huge one. One thing still missing is a full curriculum map. We have, our teachers are getting, like a group called the Curriculum Work Group is getting paid after school to make a curriculum map for the grade level that they're most comfortable with, and they share that out at release days with the other teachers to make sure that everyone's kind of in agreement. And we have that done for math, social study, or math, science, and ELA. We don't have it done for social studies yet. The goal was to have that done when we came into this year, but it didn't get done because there were teachers just didn't have time to do it.
There's a lot happening.
So we are saying, okay, well, this year, it's easier to make a curriculum map once you've played with the curriculum than it is to make one just looking at the table of contents, right? So that's okay. So that's another support I hope will help next year. But, we might come back to you with teacher feedback and say, listen, they really want the online TCI and the workbooks. Because I was just planning on buying the online. And then teachers were like, no, we want the workbooks too. And then I only bought them K-5. And then 6th grade teachers were like, what are you doing? Give us the workbooks. So I had to find the money for that. So once they've used it, then we'll get feedback about what parts they want to keep.
And adopting a curriculum is not an easy process of, oh, we adopted it, we're done. And I think it's worth acknowledging that, Kristen's staff, you heard about the work that they're doing with these 4 subject areas. They're doing hard work, and it's important work for them to be doing, but it's not a smooth, flat, paved road. It's a bumpy dirt road, and there are going to be some setbacks we have, and there are going to be some times when we get a lot done, and it's great work, and then we take a step back again.
And then just one more thing. English and math, we're saying you have to follow with fidelity. Especially the English program, because it's written in a way that it has to be followed with fidelity. Science and social studies, we're saying get to the major topic areas of your grade level, but pull in other resources if you want to. Again, with that balance between curriculum coordination and honoring the expertise of our teachers.
And, Kristen's got teachers who share grade levels, a third, fourth grade classroom, a fifth, sixth grade classroom. There are challenges with going, here's a curriculum that's actually designed for fifth grade, and doing that work. So I think, worth acknowledging that good work is happening, but we don't have it all figured out yet, and it's not all been perfect yet. But there are strategies that we're going to put in place, and we're going to keep listening and keep working.
Can I just say something as a parent
Yeah.
to Shrewsbury child? He comes home, I would not know if there is anything not going smoothly behind the scenes, because he comes home and he knows everything. He knows like what his social studies is called, what he's learning. He challenges his 8th grade sister all the time. And it's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Like he definitely, he's getting his math, his ELA, his science, his social studies.
And I love hearing
Loves
that.
every minute of it. Like, it is fantastic. This school does such an amazing
I
job.
love hearing that. But we always want to balance that with
Right.
sharing what isn't going well, because there are always things that aren't
Well,
going
we're
well.
always going to have
Yeah.
students that
Yeah.
struggle,
Yeah.
and it's the ones that struggle, it's going to be hard
Yeah.
for them.
But it's just nice to know that, like, that's not getting passed to the kids.
Yeah.
If there is
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and my teachers are thrilled with this level of support and resource. Like, they are like over the moon that they have this accessible. And now they're just like, how can we do it really well? Now they're like overwhelmed about how to do it all. And so that's why they set the goal.
And I worry about how do we make sure you're not burning out? Because having those resources is a great thing to have, but then it is more work. It is harder work. So, I think that's something, we talked last board meeting about staffing shortages. So something that is huge on our minds is burnout. If our folks are doing good work, sometimes the pace needs to back up, or sometimes we need to give a little more flexibility, and we're trying to do that work. Nick?
One, thank you for the update. Thanks for taking time out of your day. It all sounds fantastic. One question.
Yeah.
As the support strategy, you talked about the collaborative PLC online engagement. Is that just local to MRU, or is it a broader group?
That's a really good question. It's actually just our grade bands at MRU right now, with the exception that Bookworms has, like, I'm on a Facebook group for Bookworms, and you can ask grade level questions of like everybody in the nation who's doing Bookworms right now. The resources are unbelievable for that particular program. So I think that our teachers are getting some more wider support for the Bookworms, but it's really kind of exciting for them to have just their grade level teachers in our district, because they're able to kind of like, this is us, we're in the same boats.
Absolutely.
And so that's really important, and that's been set up by Jody and Brian through for elementary, it's Tuesday afternoons, that 3:15 to 4:15.
And Deborah's been
And
huge in
Deborah, I'm
helping with
sorry.
that.
And
Yep.
so every Tuesday has a specific goal. So like the first Tuesday is staff meeting that I run, and we work collaboratively, and then they're working in their PLC group with their grade band, and then they work with me, and then they work with curriculum. And so every month they're touching on all those things and have support.
Perfect.
Good question.
Very good question, though.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for last night, too.
Yeah.
All right. Enrollment update?
That's me. I was talking class sizes last meeting, and we were asking some questions about tuition,
Yes.
basically. And I have those numbers for you. I told you I'd bring you those. Universal Pre-K is a quick, easy one. We have 5 students in district, so 5 non-resident students in district for universal pre-K programs. We have 3 students out of district, so going to other programs elsewhere. Our pre-K numbers are actually fairly high, so having 5 in, I'd say we typically fluctuate between about 5 and 8 maybe. We have full enough programs that we really don't have space to have 20 in, for example, something like that. So that's pre-K. Ludlow Mount Holly, we have 44 students in district. So 44 Ludlow Mount Holly, 16 Middletown, 11 from Rutland Town, 2 from Chittenden, and 14 from Ira Danby Mount Tabor. So we have a pretty big chunk of those tuition students that I think are incredibly helpful in keeping our enrollment stable, but not just stable enrollment, stable budget. We were talking a little bit about when all of those Ludlow Mount Holly students came our way, and that was actually really good timing, because that was a year that, if we look at that 1% to 3% decline in enrollment every year, there was a year that it was going to be a lot more than the 1 to 3%. And we had about 30 of those students come in. So you can see we have 44 of those Ludlow Mount Holly students currently on the books.
Is that?
That was a
I'm
big
sorry.
buffer that came in when we needed it.
Is that K-12?
That's K-12.
Okay.
But the majority of those don't have choice until maybe middle school, mostly high school.
High school, yeah.
So if our towns have an elementary like Middletown, when I talk Middletown, we don't have Middletown elementary kids, because
Right.
they've got their own elementary.
Yep.
Rutland Town, they've got their own elementary. Middletown has middle school choice, so we get some of those kids coming in middle school. And then some of these towns, they don't have it till 9 through 12.
Right.
That's different than high school choice. This is tuition.
Right.
So I'm talking just tuition dollars. So these are students in district that funds follow those students, which is very important for stable budget for us.
And I think it's important that folks understand, when you get to the high school level and you get into school choice, that the money doesn't follow the student.
No.
Whereas what we're talking about here is tuition.
The money.
And
So
I think it's important.
So say you have a
Yeah.
Rutland resident who, would go to Rutland High School, and through school choice, they decide to come to Mill River. They go, wow, I want to be part of the music program, or I want to be part of the drama program. No funding comes
Right.
for those students. If we have a student who says, you know what, actually, I want to play hockey, so I'm going to go to another high school. I'm not going to attend Mill River. I'm a Clarendon student, but I'm going to go somewhere else. Money doesn't follow that student. So the agreement among high schools is, we will set our numbers in a way that we know what we're getting into, and we can handle that fluctuation. We can take some kids in, we can let some kids go. Our budget doesn't change.
Right.
So we would never want to set our choice numbers at like 100. Because if all of a sudden we got 100 kids in, we'd go, now we got to hire a teacher, and that's not in our budget. So if our choice number is 20 or
Right.
30, we know that we could handle that coming in without increasing our staffing. So kind of the agreement is students will come and go, and it's a wash somewhere.
And we set that number, we as a
We do that
board.
in like February, I think. We'll
Yeah.
do that in February. Yep. So that's 87 tuition students. That's over 10% of our population, tuition students, which I think is an important thing to think about. Because if we have about 800 students, 87 of those are tuition. And those are students who, for whatever reason, have decided to come into our district. And I think that's something that we always need to be mindful that we are working to engage those families and creating programs that draw students in. I think we've done a little work with our, especially like around Middletown coming into middle school, we've created some opportunities where they can come visit and be part of our elementary school step-up day where they visit the middle school. We can have some of those potential students come and visit too. So we've tried to engage our potential tuition students so that, we're showing them what we do so that they have a really good reason to choose to come here. We're not just hoping they come here, we're showing them what they do and letting them make a informed decision, if that makes sense. Kristen, go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just wanted to interject because it's just something that was a really special moment.
Yeah.
So Craig Hutt-Vader is the principal over at Mount Holly, and he and I were able to collaborate with the student panel that Kaylin Thompson and Cheryl Harrington and several students from Mill River came to Shrewsbury, and Mount Holly students were bused here and were able to be and meet with our Shrewsbury 6th grade in the Mount Holly sixth grade together, and they were able to answer and ask tons of questions of the kids. And it was this really beautiful moment where they got to meet each other. And many of those students, after that panel discussion, chose to come to Mill River over going to Green Mountain.
So that's something Kaylin put into place in her principalship to go do that at every elementary school.
So
It was just very effective.
I hope you hear that we're not just hoping, we're not just sending a newsletter, we're trying to put things in place that actually engage those students and those caregivers so that they're making those choices. Because if we are working hard to provide good programs, well, that's a benefit. If we're drawing more students in, our budget is in better shape, we can sustain those programs, we can add to those programs. So I think it's a positive cycle. So if we do the work and we have students come here, we can do more of the work, which I think is important. Because statewide, nationwide, enrollment's declining. So if we're not sustaining and doing that work, our numbers are going to go down faster. I'm not going to say our numbers are going to stabilize. I think that's not confronting reality. Our numbers will continue to go down. But the work that we do keeps that decline a little more stable. So that's enrollment number update.
Well, I think
Questions?
even with our longevity thinking
Yeah.
of, 5 to 10 years down the road, if we have
Yeah.
a big pre-K,
Yeah.
it's trying to do what we can to keep them
Yeah.
in our school
Sure.
district.
Sure.
We're not going to
Sure.
be able to prevent somebody moving out of the district and
Yeah.
having to move their child or whatever, but trying to keep them, because we go through spurts where we have a lot of pre-K kindergarten and then we don't have a lot. And then we have a lot and they follow. If we can get them and really focus on the longevity of it and keep them continued, then we'll be better too, as long and bringing others in.
And you get more stable staffing out of that, which gets to that same question of staff shortages.
Yep.
If we have these fluctuations and we go, oh, big year this year, hire some teachers. Oh, small year, fire some teachers. If we can keep things a little more stable, we can keep people here, and I think it sounds like
Yeah.
kind of what you were getting at. Even our resident students, this is about
Yeah.
sustaining a program for them. This isn't just about tuition kids.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helping
Questions?
keep everybody here.
Questions? Len? Sorry, Josh. You
Go ahead.
I was just, me and Len, I don't remember if we were doing it in a policy or not,
Yeah.
but one of the things we were talking about was movement of kids in the elementary school.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
Was like, is there an easy way to know if
Yep.
how many kids are
Yeah.
going to different schools?
Ooh, I
And,
can get that for you.
you know,
I
that
can't
kinda
tell
stuff.
you off the top
I
of my
don't
head
know
now.
if it will inform us
Yeah.
that much of what's happening, but it
give
may
us a
be
little
just
bit of an idea.
interesting. Because that was part of the premise, I feel like, when the school districts
Yeah.
merged, it's like, oh, there's
Yep.
different maybe concepts or ideas of what the schools are doing, and just see
Yeah.
if different things are pulling.
Next board meeting, I'll give you an update on that. I don't have the numbers that easy that I can grab for you, but that's an interesting thing too.
Well, we were talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it points out two things. Number one, is there a lot of student movement to a particular school, which would raise a question, why?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or is there a lot of movement of students from a particular school, which also raises the question, why? So I think just from that perspective, and plus some folks have said that, because of our policies, we may have overpopulated some schools.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it would be nice if we know whether that's a fact
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah. And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
But it depends how you cut it and how you look at it.
But if we've got the numbers,
Yeah, and I think I can tell you ballpark, is there any one school who's getting all the kids? No. I think at this point in time, we have every elementary has in-district transfer. Some come up to Shrewsbury, some come up to Tinmouth, some go to Clarendon and Wallingford. So every school has some students choosing to be there from another district, which is interesting. I would say the only trend I've seen is we did see a few more coming out of Wallingford last year. We had some struggles at the end of the year last year. We definitely did. So there were a couple more, I think, than we normally would see. We haven't seen that same conversation with caregivers this year. We haven't seen that same sort of concern bubble up with folks asking about going somewhere else. So that might have been a short term, we'll see. The deadline is in the spring, so we can revisit in the spring. And, if that's something that's a multiple year trend, yeah, we got to think about that.
Well, and this just brings up sorry, Len,
No, go ahead.
if I don't say it, it's gonna leave me.
I know how that goes.
It just brings up kind of like a slinky effect where we hit one as far as our tuitions, then the slinky goes to the next
Yeah.
step. It's what we're pulling in, what we're offering.
Yeah.
And then it's looking at the programs. So say we're getting a bunch from Rutland because of our stage 40, which stage 20, and I've heard that for the last 10 years. Then it's looking at the program part of it, but then it's looking at what else, as the slinky falls down the staircase, what else are we going to be looking at to try to keep our children here? And then because we're unified and have been, we have all these different schools that legitimately could offer as long as being unified, but we have, Timoth is really small. That's great for kids who need small. Wallingford is Clarendon's bigger. Then we have, looking at all of those aspects too. And because we are unified, we really need to start.
In other words, I think what you're getting at, Andrea, is if folks have a little more choice, maybe they're not going out of district.
Yeah.
Maybe they're exercising choice in district. Maybe that's a really good thing. Are Tinmouth's numbers higher than they would be if we only had Tinmouth resident students at Tinmouth? Absolutely. But is that keeping those students in district where otherwise they'd leave? So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Hard to say. I think it's safe to say that providing that program, providing those options costs money. Whether you talk about sustaining 4 elementary schools or whether you talk about an arts program, a drama program, a sports program, anytime you talk about what's the program we're going to offer to sustain what we have, to bring kids in, to keep kids in, all comes at a cost. And I think that's something we do need to be thinking a lot about. Are things where we want them to be? If not, do we need to do something more? Do we need to do something less? Where do we want things to be? Do we want to be a school district 20 years from now? Follow the numbers. 20 years is a long time, but if you follow the numbers, we got to be thinking about where do we want to be then so that we can start positioning ourselves now. Just like that curriculum conversation, those things take time to put in place. Finance and B&G, we've been talking 5-year plan, because if you don't have a 5-year plan, you're not going to get much of anything done. So I think,
Academically, we need
yeah,
not necessarily 5-year, but
yeah,
we need a plan all around for everything if we're going to seriously look at every aspect of having our children be satisfied here.
yeah.
And
those programs cost money, and we might be looking at budgets going up if that's where we want to go and where we want to be. If we want our numbers to keep dwindling till program goes and program goes and program goes, whatever that program might be, that's a different path. So.
And that takes me to my second question, which is, at some point, I would like to hear some information about how the tech ed programs that we reinstituted are going.
yes, so, sorry.
Yeah.
On that, and Brian, I have actually said that to Brian, that.
Jody, do you know enrollment in that off the top of your head? I can look it up.
So I can't tell you total numbers, but I can tell you that according to what we've decided is maximum amount of students for safety,
They're full.
We are maxed out with at least 15 kids on the wait list
Yeah.
for fall and spring.
Great.
And I have actually talked to the woodshop teacher.
Yeah.
And he
Ed's fantastic. Yeah.
agrees to come towards the,
Oh, good, to present to the board?
present,
Fantastic.
after
That'd
the
be
first
great.
class, to, and, the metal teacher,
Yeah,
motor,
yeah, yeah.
because they have snowmobiles and stuff in there.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, Tim Parent.
Yes,
Yep,
they
his
both
program.
have
Yep.
agreed to come and do a presentation
Yeah.
to us to tell us how that has gone and what they see could help them in keeping that.
I
So,
think
yeah,
that's
I've
critical
talked
because
to-
we decided, based on input from the community, that that was a route we needed to go down. And if it's being successful,
Fantastic.
then I think we need to let the community know that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, so Mr. Robbins has totally agreed to it. I
Awesome.
just have to tell him the date.
Yeah, no,
So-
great question, great question. You know, and I think that's a great place to maybe end this conversation. We do need to know what our communities want.
Right.
We can't just decide, here's where the schools are going to be in 20 years. We need to know what our communities want. Do they want these schools 20 years from now? What do they want them to look like? Do they want all the programs we're offering currently? You know, do they want us to invest more? We heard a lot about athletics and investing more in that last year. We put it on the ballot. That passed more than our regular budget, which was really interesting to see. And Kim and Tim have worked hard to put that to good use. If you go and you look at our fields, if you just walk down there, I don't think I've ever seen those fields look so professional in the 12, 13 years I've been here, you know? But if we want those changes, sometimes we have to listen to the community, and we have to do our work and then deliver on it. But sometimes it takes money.
And I think we also need to share with the community
Here's how.
that we listened, we
Yeah.
heard them, we did things,
Yeah.
and there are positive results. I
Exactly.
think that's a key point.
Yeah.
So that the next time, when we say, give us your feedback,
Yeah.
they might be a little bit more willing.
Yeah, people stop giving you feedback when it seems like you stop listening.
Yeah, yeah.
Very true, very true.
Well,
Okay.
and we need to be able to reinforce what the community is telling us too.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the community comes to us with something and all of the schools and the board and everybody feel that it's definitely something that needs to have more emphasis, showing them that we're willing to listen to them and we're willing to be pushing to make things better for our students. That, it's all of that part.
So how are you going to do that? We're
I don't
saying-
know.
We're saying,
Yeah.
we need to do this, we need to do this,
We have a-
and then we drop it.
We have a budget forum tomorrow to hear from people.
I know, but how do we let people know that aren't at the?
We're having a
very- not
newsletter
that many people
now.
show up at.
For community engagement, they're doing a newsletter. And just, I mean, being out there.
Yeah,
As
but-
much as we can.
But it is,
And letting them know that it's okay to talk to us.
it is a good question. What else could we be doing? And I think we do have time on the agenda. We're looking at board goals. And that might be a conversation around board goals because community engagement is absolutely on there.
Could
So
we just morph
what
into
more
that?
could we be doing? Yeah, yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
morph
no,
into that
I
one.
appreciate you letting me take this conversation a little bit sideways, but I think just like class size was so important to budget thinking, I think this is very important, not just to budget thinking, but to strategic planning thinking. Where are we going? So, thank you for entertaining that. Is board goals next on our
Yes, it
agenda?
is, so
Perfect.
go right on in.
And you've got that document, and I that was in the materials, and I didn't, in the back of my head, my recommendation was gonna be, why don't we just go down the list and talk about any that we wanted to talk about there, but if we wanna start at community engagement, let's start at community engagement.
Yes, please. We need to keep
So that's bullet
conversation.
number 3. It says strive to engage the community through student representation, a board newsletter, attending school events, public comment, and community conversation.
So like one of the ways, so like in school communication, like the high school newsletter could be talking about how popular it is. It's always going to be really difficult to talk to everybody else, right? So is there any, so like if there is, so like, but PR is one of the ways, right? So if there is a project at the wood shop or in the metal class where they're like fishing, if there is something interesting that then you can bring a reporter into, then it's us communicating it, but it's not us communicating it, right? It's like people are just become aware that it even exists. Because we can only do so much with the voice that we have. I think we've proven that pretty well. Like, you know, it's like we can keep doing letter, like, and I think those are important to keep trying those things, but having something, and I don't know what else they're doing in that class, you know, it's like, I don't know if you could try to, you know, finagle a reporter or somebody to come talk to them about it or something like that. But that seems like one of the only ways that we can talk to the people that don't really even like know that the district is here, except for the times when they go into the voting booth.
And, you know, you could talk about reopening the programs. Might not be a bad way to approach it, is that, you know, for many years now, we've been without them, and the community spoke, and we listened, and these are the projects that they're doing.
And we have been putting some things in the Herald. We've had a good opportunity working with the Herald that we get periodically, like every 3 months or so, we get a full page.
Yeah.
That we've been trying to share some of, here are the things we're doing as a district. Actually, the last one we did was highlighting some of those transition programs of, you know, elementary to middle school to high school transition. So these things we're talking about being important, we're trying to get out there. Yeah.
Well, and we do have a student rep too.
We do have a student rep who unfortunately informed me that he was sick and could not make it tonight. When we get to agenda building, he's going to be on the agenda for the November 1 meeting to give an update. So he's already made a plan to
So
start
it's-
getting some information from students so that he can make that update.
It's always something that
Yeah.
we can maybe ask, you know, as long as giving student updates, you know, be like, okay, can you focus on utilizing him while, you know, we have him? A little bit. And then, Cindy, do you want to touch on a little bit with community engagement earlier about newsletters going, like when we get updates, like you get Mill River and Shrewsbury updates, but like Matt will get Mill River and Clarendon, but you're not getting,
Everything else.
Yeah,
that's
how we
One
might-
of the things that we talked about is, because somebody had mentioned the principals send updates, so we're trying to stay away from doubling up information. But if you're not getting all of the principal updates, then you're not getting the full picture. But one of the targets for this newsletter is that demographic that doesn't have kids in the school. Like, we want to hit those people who are taxpayers, who want to know what their money is being used for, and we want to give those updates in the newsletter.
Are you gonna mail that?
So it's gonna go out through email. We're gonna
open it.
put a couple of paper copies at the town offices and the libraries. But otherwise, it's gonna go out on Front Page Forum, Front Porch Forum. Is that what it's called? So I
Yes.
don't use it, so I don't know. Facebook, the website. Yeah, a lot of digital stuff.
I'm opening it right now. Oops, not opening it right now. Now I'm opening
we could do at the dump too.
it. It's,
Can you
I
use
would
your-
love
You
to
get a lot
post
of
it
people
at
there?
So right now, the
Give me
current,
extra copies, I'll take them to the
No.
dump.
the current suggestions are paper copies located at the public libraries, town offices, and then electronic copies on Front Porch Forum, Facebook, email distribution, and located on the school website.
If I could get a bunch of paper copies, I would bring them to the dump.
Everybody goes to the dump. Not everybody wants to open up not everybody is gonna be on your computer. And they're gonna think about the school board when they've got a complaint. You know, or when something's going on.
Or when they gotta vote for the
Right.
budget.
Right, and so they're not gonna see
Yep.
anything.
Well, that's what I was just gonna mention, is we're going through the list. One of the things is that we should be attending events. Well, I've been to numerous music events, sporting events, and you hear from the occasional person, but once you've been to 24 of them, you pretty much,
Don't really
I was
hear
gonna
from
say,
people.
I've been to a ton of sporting events this year, and the only people who've ever approached me to talk is staff members.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I talked to you.
I know.
You're a staff member?
Well, I was at a spaghetti dinner down at the Brick Church the other day, Saturday, whatever it was. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I'm making an assumption. I'll bet none of these people know what we're doing.
Sure.
And so then I think, okay, so how do we let them know? And I haven't figured that out yet.
Sandwich board. You go out and you have a sandwich board.
With the newsletter on each side.
There was people there that I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a board member, ask
You
me
know,
a
and I think
question.
that's the challenge, absolutely,
It is.
because we have great mechanisms in place to communicate with our school communities.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the importance of like Shrewsbury and the newsletter that Kristen sends out weekly, like that's a huge communication tool, and we know that's essential, because if we don't have that, people start getting frustrated, they don't know what's going on, So we have an audience that we know needs that. So we work really hard to put that in place, and we have the tools to do that. But folks that don't have kids in school, it's really interesting because, we don't have a great mechanism to find those people. And if we don't communicate a lot to them, a lot of them are totally fine and happy and okay, so.
Until it comes to the budget,
Sure,
then they
sure,
vote,
sure.
and then they come
Yeah.
to us and say, well, what did we vote
The
on?
budget. I'm not
Yeah.
saying they're opposed to it.
No,
But it's,
yeah.
I was
It's
just
getting
kind of
the
looking
information
around
to them.
going,
Yeah.
man.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I know for Shrewsbury, the Times of Shrewsbury is like, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Everybody reads it.
Yeah.
It's a paper thing, it comes in the mail, like, that honestly,
Yeah.
if it could be posted
So,
in that.
putting our
is
newsletter in
going to be the
there,
best
because
form for Shrewsbury, but I don't know about Wallingford, Clarendon, and
Yeah, like we have Tinmouth Tales, which is the same thing. So it's online and I'm sure the people that are at that spaghetti dinner equivalent at Tinmouth are reading the paper copy of the Tinmouth Tale. So I think that's add those to the list. And does Clarendon have an
We
equivalent,
don't
like
have
that the
a-
town doesn't send out? anything like that?
Wallingford does.
We
Wallingford
don't.
does.
You only care when you complain.
Wallingford does?
Everybody
that-
reads it. I mean, if it's in there, they're gonna read it.
Yeah. So then so that should get
I think
added to the
then,
list
yeah,
then.
that's the focus. Clarendon's still the tricky one to figure out there, but I think that's if that's something that people look forward to and are engaged in, that's where we want to be.
Yeah.
We don't want to be, scattershot, we hope it gets in somewhere, let's identify those places that we know people are looking for things. Clarendon, though, we still got to scratch our heads on, but.
Yeah.
We're so in the,
We don't have anything like that.
I was gonna say Clarendon's kinda
Yeah.
stuck back.
There isn't anything.
Yeah. But, we'll have some things we can try for Clarendon, but I think the Wallingford, Shrewsbury, Tinmouth, those papers, if we know that people consume those and look
And I
forward
get
to those
a
and, yeah,
monthly reminder,
yeah,
like, I need your submissions, I need
Yeah.
your submissions. So,
right on.
I mean, it's
Well, when I
easy
figure it out
enough,
for
type
Clarendon,
it
I'll
up, send it
retire.
in.
Okay,
but-
there you go.
So
What?
start a Clarendon paper.
You might be with
Independent,
us
you
for a
might.
while
No,
then.
no. With my computer expertise, you kidding me?
My only wonder on the list is the only thing we haven't really touched on, and I'm not saying that this is we have to figure this out tonight, but if we're talking community engagement, I know Community Engagement Committee's meeting, which is great, and that's happened a few times. That community conversations piece, we haven't really touched on, if that is something we want to think about. These are goals that we've got a year to work on, but it's mid-October, so just planting a seed there.
Yeah, so, if we, just to talk out loud, if we rewind a few months, we had talked about doing some type of open coffee, come speak to a board member, but I know when we've done open engagements before,
Yeah.
They're not well attended.
they're
No.
not well
Yeah.
attended. So how do you break the paradigm and say,
Yeah.
come, tell us the good, the bad, the ugly, the,
Sometimes community engagement, like,
Yeah.
the community conversations wasn't well
Sometimes you
attended
had
either.
folks, sometimes you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Like, I'm looking forward to basketball, which is like coming right up quick. And maybe plant myself next to the concessions and just say, hey.
Get you the sandwich board.
Yeah,
Yes.
But
We can share.
I'm not wearing the sandwich.
But I think you have a good point, and I think that's like our Clarendon problem. There's no thing that's already there and we can just make use of. We got to make the thing. And sometimes, because we tried like an admin coffee hour thing too, to try and get some engagement with parents, back when I first got hired last year. And very low attendance again. But if we did it for 3 years, we might have had great attendance at the end of 3 years.
It's not that I don't
but-
want to
yeah.
see those 5 people that show up. but
Yeah.
When there's 2,500 that we should be talking to.
Yeah. And I don't know if we can build that quickly. I don't know.
I think you're always going to have the problem, because there's only, like, even the people that vote is still not
No.
the majority of all our towns, I would assume. So you're taking the people that
Yeah,
at
that's
least
true,
take the
that's
effort
true.
of that,
Except
and then you're making the
Tinmouth did have the highest turnout.
do turn
but-
out pretty well. But it's still like only like 60% or something like that.
Yeah.
But so
Versus,
like,
like, 30.
the slice of people that are actually going to be engaged is not that big to begin with.
Right.
And so it's like but
Yeah.
it's probably still our job
Yeah.
to try to outreach to everybody and accept so it's like,
I do think for Clarendon, it's around sports. Like the Clarendon town.
But it's not
very,
everybody.
It's not, but I think that's where you get your biggest chunk of people
Yes.
in one location. So it's even if you plan something like prior to a basketball game, like come a half hour early and chat with a board member or something.
We remember when we did our Clarendon board meeting, like right on the heels of a Clarendon
Yes.
evening event, and we had nobody come.
Of course.
That wasn't very good planning.
It's tricky because you go like, oh, let's try this. This is the best idea in the world, and then it falls
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
You go, oh, back to the drawing board.
and
Yeah.
then the other part of it is like, just like you were saying, the teachers are tired.
Yeah.
Almost everyone,
Yeah.
like, we're doing this, but we all are barely being able to do this. I would guess.
We're all tired by the time
You know?
8 o'clock hits.
And so it's like, and I don't know how feasible it is, but it's like, if we're asking community members to come, it's like, if there's some way to have a childcare at the same time. The problem is like, if there's one kid who shows up, that might be an expensive problem to deal with.
Or you do virtual. I think something interesting we found, because all of this PCB stuff that's going on, we did virtual meetings. And it was interesting because some people would say like, oh, this is great because I got to keep an eye on my kids, but I can listen. Oh, I'm making dinner right now, but I can listen. So we had decent turnouts with, not a lot of lead time because we wanted to do those quickly to answer questions for folks quickly. But we had reasonable turnout for it being real quick and it being 7 p.m. on a
I attended
weeknight.
the Wallingford one, and
Yeah.
I just walked around the house doing
Yeah.
stuff with my earbuds in, so.
So, I
But
wonder.
you're not getting the older generation doing that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
You're not, they're
That was
not
the crew that
computer
was at the
savvy
spaghetti dinner.
and they're
Yeah.
not,
You
yeah.
know.
True.
You're not getting them.
the question is also too of like, the school board vote, like the
Yeah.
budget vote for a lot of those people is they've decided what,
Yeah.
like, they're like, I don't know how much wiggle room there is. There's people that are at that dinner who are just, I vote no on the school budget.
yeah.
And there's people who are just, I don't know anything, but I will vote yes, whatever that number is, I'm voting yes.
Isn't your not Clarendon, not Clarendon, but everywhere
any
else?
town.
Isn't your newsletter how you're getting those folks? The virtual, if you did a virtual community connections, that's how you're getting our school folks that we need to hear from. That's how you're getting your parents you need to hear from. So I think those are two different.
Those could be your
Two
swing,
different
your
purposes,
swing
maybe.
people anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Everyone else is
Yeah.
gonna look at it and go, if it's an increase, it's no. If it's,
Yeah.
if it's close to what it used to be, it's a yes.
right.
But if your parents feel that we're doing good work and supporting their students, they might come out and vote where they might not. otherwise, yeah.
But we need to
And
think
we did the
of-
math last year. Sorry, Andrea. We did the math last year.
She's gonna lose her thought now.
If, go ahead.
No, you're
Go.
fine, go.
If all of our caregivers came out and voted yes, based on voter turnout numbers, if they all came out and voted yes, our budget would pass easily. If they all came out and voted yes. Sorry, go ahead.
So the problem I only see is, yes, the parents, but it's the parents, the grandparents that are also providing care,
Oh, true,
that do
true,
vote
true.
on the budget, that are not necessarily asking the questions of why the budget is whatever it is, but they're still voting because they have grandchildren or great-grandchildren in the community that are attending our schools. So instead of just focusing, like, on our students and the parents, we need to start thinking generational
Yep.
and focusing on all of them. That's why I think the newsletter and community engagement and really getting out and being able to answer questions when people have questions
Then
to
you're
us.
getting different groups with each
Then
one
we're
of
getting
those.
everything.
Yeah.
Clarendon's a very generational community. So if you're just getting parents, you're not necessarily getting everybody. You're getting grandma and grandpa that provide, great aunt and uncle, in just for that town. That's why I think Clarendon's so prominent sometimes. But, so we need to kind of look at that part. And that, to bring it all back, because I know we're all tired, with our board goals would be bringing, community, that goal of us outreach. And I don't have it in front of me, but,
And I wouldn't advocate, I don't think there's a change needed right now. I think we did some good planning and we
No,
had
I
some
think
different
it's- yeah.
strategies. We just need to make sure we're not forgetting one strategy.
we need to
leaving a
do
group
the
out.
steps.
Yep.
We have good strategy and we have a good baseline, but we need to start doing the steps.
And the newsletter's moving. We have a student representative.
Yep.
Several of you have been attending events, so, we're doing some of the work.
And I think for, like, conversation topics,
Yep.
like, the budget one's easy, because, like, that makes sense for people to come. The other one that makes sense, I think, is our Buildings and Grounds 5-year
Oh, yeah.
plan. Just
Yep.
being like,
Yep.
being made aware of,
Yep.
look, we are trying to do this in a way that is fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Keep this up, keep
I was
going.
gonna say,
And
that's
it's
the
like,
only other really big complaint that I have heard is grounds.
Well, okay, so we just talked about the academics. The 4,
Yep.
what we're new this year. So if we start having community conversations, why not have a community conversation in regards to that?
Yeah,
Because
that could
the
be a place
budget
to
is
start.
every year.
Yeah.
Buildings and grounds can be
Yeah.
forever for 5+ years. It's almost pulling what's huge that happened this year.
And
And starting our, sorry, Brian, starting our community engagement and community conversation and pulling stuff like that. Not like it was run before.
People.
Yes.
And I was gonna say, I might have been out of the loop, and I should know this, but I don't know this. When we did the community conversations in the past, was it just come and talk about anything?
we
or
had
was there was a
subjects.
theme, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Topics.
Maria
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
do the
Right
subjects
on.
and stuff. So if we get back to that,
Yeah,
I think
that might,
that needs to
We
start
also-
happening.
We also used to not only have subjects, but we would say this particular one will have reps from these towns. And certain board members would sign up for certain
Right on.
dates.
Right on.
So if you
We
had a
were
problem with
assigned,
that
yeah.
town, you could come to that particular one.
Yep.
and that might draw people more than just come talk to us. Come talk to us about facilities. Oh, yeah, I'll come talk to you about that. That might get more people engaged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one other thought that just popped into my head is parent-teacher conferences. Do we want to think about setting things up?
Oh, being available then.
Yeah, so that, I'm thinking particularly the curriculum thing. So that they can actually look at the curriculum and see it and touch it and feel it and all that kind of stuff. And then we could also set up a budget thing, we could also set up a table that's whatever.
We have, so like at Mill River, they have the board when you walk right in, the information board, right?
They've been doing a real good job of.
And they but
Keeping
maybe
that up to
pulling,
date and, yeah.
like, parent-teacher conferences are twice a year.
Yep.
And pulling that board if you're going to Mill River,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we have parents that are at Clarendon and then they're, at another school,
Mm-hmm.
like dual, being able to utilize what the schools have and what they're having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like if there's a concert at one of the elementary schools, having like a board up about
Mm-hmm.
the curriculum. I don't know, Shrewsbury, I think you,
We have a concert on December 19th.
see, so there, we could have the curriculum board up. And then when everybody's mingling or afterwards, that's a topic. If they want to talk, if they want to see it and talk about it.
And
And
I think
then,
conferences are a great place where teachers are sharing with
Yeah.
caregivers anyway, like, here's what we're doing in class,
Yep.
introducing some of those programs.
But the
yeah.
problem with conferences, in the past, you don't have that many people there.
Yeah,
I was gonna
you-
say, open house seems to be
Yeah,
more
that
of a,
it's-
yeah,
you
true,
get more
true.
people at an open
Yeah.
house, like, that
Yeah.
is the one thing.
Some folks
like,
don't come
I
to
don't do
conferences.
parent-teacher
They don't come to-
conferences
Yeah.
with my Mill River student, but I do the open
And,
house.
and I think the older a
boring.
student gets too, the less likely sometimes you are to see folks at conferences.
yeah.
Sometimes like kindergarten, people are really interested and want to know, but by the time you get to seventh grade might be a little,
well, by the time they
nerve-wracking
hit
going
a
up to seventh
10th,
grade,
you're
but
kind of like, okay.
yeah, you know what you're doing, you're okay.
It's also, open house is also a concentrated time.
Right, I mean, I know
is.
at open house here, I got to see all of the curriculum, the workbooks,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
things that they were
Yeah.
using and,
Yeah.
oh, Mom, look at this.
Do they have
and
open
look at
houses
this,"
at
and-
the other schools? I'm
Absolutely.
assuming they do.
Absolutely.
Do they have it at the high school?
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. We haven't always in the past, but yes, absolutely.
I love
yeah.
how open house is done at the high school.
Yep.
You
Yep.
follow your kid's schedule, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
But
Except I
that,
didn't
that
follow
may
it.
be an opportunity for us to, again, put up a table and
Absolutely.
Right in the front.
Awesome.
All right, so.
And thank you for that. I think we had committed to re-engaging with our goals periodically, and I think that's great for us to do that and remind ourselves what's on the list, so we don't lose track of it.
All right, so with that said, we will work on it. We're on to special education fund transfer,
So.
and everybody should have that in
Yep.
their packet.
And this is, whenever we have a fund transfer within a department that is over $2,500, we bring it to the board. So this is a special ed fund transfer. Coral was under the weather. She had to take a sick day today, so she couldn't make it. This is to support training for one of our folks to be CPI certified so that they can train folks. So CPI is the training program that helps our folks with verbal de-escalation. So if a student is getting dysregulated, we can verbally try to help that student. And then if things continue to escalate, the adults can give a proper restraint. So restraints don't happen too many places in our district, but when restraints happen, they have to be by folks who are trained. They have to be documented every time it happens. There are a lot of rules and regulations around that. Having somebody on staff who can train our staff in that is incredibly important. We had gotten to the point where we had several of those people on staff, which was great, because then we could offer, like the verbal de-escalation training, we can offer to a bunch of people. Even if you'd never, ever, ever probably have to restrain a student, you would still have some of those skills to support them verbally. But then our special ed folks, we absolutely want to make sure that they're trained fully. We are down, I think, to one person who has this training now. So there's a pretty good need to have a second person just to have the ability to make sure all our folks are up to speed on that. So a little bit of an unanticipated thing we had to work on, but we do have a little bit of surplus in tuition to private Vermont LEAs. So that's if we happen to send a student out to a program because it was a program that would better meet their needs for special ed, we have surplus there, so we can absolutely move the money. But it just triggers that level of we need board approval, so.
Do we have a person?
Yeah. Maggie,
Okay.
Maggie Ains has
Oh, good.
already agreed
Okay.
to do all that good work, so.
Okay.
I would ask the board for a motion to approve the transfer per this request.
So I'll make the motion, to transfer $4,799, out of,
Tuition
out of district tuition account into the special ed funds,
into training development. fund.
training development funds.
Second it?
Thanks, Josh. Any more discussion on it?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is this something that this person's going to need to be, like, like
it a
everything
renewal?
else, you're gonna have to recertify?
Jody, do
I
you
know
know, is it
CPI
3
is
years? Is it
Yeah,
3 years? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so this will work for a fair bit of time, and I think the recertification is less, unless this is the recertification. That I don't know. Yeah.
So much money to
Yeah.
provide the CPI training to all of our staff in-house,
Then it's at no cost.
as opposed, like, this is the fiscally responsible way to do this. Because otherwise, we have to pay a trainer to come in, because there are a lot of staff members that need to be specifically, this is one of those mandatory professional development pieces, because we focus mainly on the verbal de-escalation, but in order to safely restrain a kid in a major safety incident, you must be certified in this way. And so that's the second part of the training. So we get in-house trainers because it saves us money, allows us them to flex with our schedules.
Okay.
But yeah, 3 years from now, we'll know enough to have budgeted. This was just one where we didn't have the person and we had to scramble a little. Nick?
Two questions. So this is like a train the trainer.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And then looking at the phrasing of the words, I'm just looking for clarification. It says, in the amount of the 4,800, I'm gonna round it up, from an out-of-district tuition account.
So
Yep.
what that means is that's tuition for students to go out of district.
So it's
Does that make
not,
sense?
it's not an account that's physically out of.
No.
No.
Yeah. It's our tuition account for out-of-district placements.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, good clarification on that wording.
All right. We have a vote. All in favor?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Now we're on to executive session.
Yep. And we can scoot down the hall. Well, we don't have a lot of public.
Do we
If
need to
No.
restate why we're going into executive session?
we do need a motion, we don't need the.
The tiny details.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't need a finding of substantial disadvantage. We just need a motion to go into executive session to discuss evaluation of a public employee.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cindy.
All in favor? I love how Nick's just like,
Okay.
okay.
You have to like get paid for it or something.
Okay, so I make a motion to come out of executive session at 8:31, with no action taken.
Motion's not required, you just make a choice.
Okay, well, we're coming out of executive
There we
session
go.
at
Yeah,
8:31.
no, follow me.
So next
Dick.
on the agenda is.
We're still in personnel.
Yeah, personnel. Contracts and all that.
I do not have that
Oh, the letter.
resignation.
Or we have some contracts too.
We have a resignation
Yeah, and the contract.
and a
Some new-
contract?
I think we have a couple.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Okay.
Or three of them here.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Megan Cameron as special educator.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Was that unanimous? I thought it was.
Yes. And then we have some contracts.
What do we have? I'm
We
sorry.
have some contracts.
Okay, I don't have one. I guess I didn't do a very good job of.
Do you have them?
Printed everything.
I thought I did, but.
All good.
didn't see these. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to offer contract to Tabitha Victor, 1.0 full-time equivalency, 7 through 12 school counselor.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nick. Discussion?
Was there a lot of applicants for this, or is this the only applicant? Or-
We had interviewed a couple of times, so this is actually the extension of a process where a committee had interviewed, not been happy with candidates, left it open, interviewed, and this is a candidate that they eventually interviewed and were happy with to offer the contract. Still, I would say not a ton of candidates through that whole process, though. You know, that's unfortunately what we're seeing is, you know, for a position like this, 4 or 5 candidates sometimes. And that's keeping it open for a long period of time.
And they all had similar experience levels and?
Yeah, actually, I think with this one, we tended to have people who didn't have experience, actually, believe it or not.
So,
And not that it's a bad thing, but recently we've had more than usual relocating to Vermont, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah, very true.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Awesome.
Thank you. Next is a long-term sub,
Oh, you got it. There you go.
3rd grade.
And you always say you're not good with computers. Come on, man.
I'd like to make a motion to offer a contract to Karen Castle as a long-term sub at 3rd grade, 1.0 full-time equivalency.
That was one we had, sorry, there's not a second or discussion.
Oh, I'll second it.
Cindy beat you to it.
Discussion.
That was one I mentioned last time
Yep.
that we had in place. We just didn't have the paperwork ready
Right.
for it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? I think that's it.
No, Elizabeth Spencer.
Yeah, one more.
There's one more. You're running off the same packet, hit
The
twice.
Spencer contract.
Loss here.
Trade you.
No,
Pass.
pass all the computers around.
I know, everybody, Len gets all the computers.
Oh, somebody bumped something.
Oh, it's gone now?
Gone forever.
See it. Can you just go back there? There's the one you need.
Okay. Very professional. I would like to make a motion to offer a contract to Elizabeth Spencer for the position of a pre-K paraeducator, .6 FTE.
I'll second that. Oh. He almost beat me.
Thanks, Paul. Discussion. All those
She
in-
been employed with us before.
Liz has subbed with us before. I don't think she's been full-time with us.
So she's done summer program,
After school, yeah.
That's
and
okay.
subbing, so.
All right.
And is a Mill River graduate.
And a former
And-
student of mine.
Her mother.
Liz is fantastic, yep.
is
And
employed with us, too.
these pre-K positions are tricky because the amount of training that you need to be able to work with pre-K is kind of crazy for a paraeducator position, you know, far and above the requirements for a special ed paraeducator. So having somebody ready lined up for pre-K is fantastic. Hard to fill those positions.
Are they normally in a specific school, or is that?
Shrewsbury.
This one's Shrewsbury?
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Awesome, thank you.
The next Personnel Committee meeting is
November 1st.
November 1st, and we're going to be meeting at 6 because we want to take some time to look at the superintendent evaluation. Brian gave us some feedback based on the evaluation tool that we used, And so I think it's important that we sit down and look at that tool, make any adjustments that we feel we need to make. Brian's feedback has been helpful, so that's gonna be the focus of that next meeting in November. That's why we're starting at 6 as opposed to 6:30. And so I think I'm done with all the things I didn't know.
Yep. You did really good.
Good job, Lon. Nice.
And I even
job.
tried to give you a heads up.
I know.
All right, so on to policy. We got a boatload.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So first I want to make a motion to rescind A3, policy A3, which is policy
Dissemination and
and,
administration.
yeah, and administration.
And that's first read of that. So
That
that's
is,
first time
yes.
we're looking at this.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Any discussion on it?
I would just say we're getting rid of this one because
We,
the topic that it covers is in
In another.
A2. Yep.
Redundant.
Yep.
Okay.
all in favor of that? Nick?
Okay, unanimous? Thank you.
Trying to open them both, so I got them both on, one on this one on this one.
You got two things
Okay,
working.
so
Of course you do.
the next is H7. And we have sent that out for first read already. Has our time's
Oh,
passed?
no. We
No.
have
This
We
is,
have
this
it.
is what we just did.
Okay, so make a motion for H7, which is Title I, Part A, Parent and Family Engagement, to be sent for first read. There's another section to this.
I'll second it.
And this is, okay. Now, discussion is, this policy along with H8 are, state regulation for funding. VSBA, Jody was nice enough to clean it up a little bit, so it wasn't so wordy and stick all of our stuff in there that we needed. But this matches state statute and VSBA for what is required for this certain type of funding that we, have. Right, Jody?
So this is for our title funds. We have to
Yeah.
have the updated policy. The state has requested that we add this. The model policy for this one was 10 pages long. And Brian and I in the policy committee decided that we could take out the procedures that were written into the policy because the policy references the procedure and because procedure may change frequently. And so that's why it cut down to 5 pages, so it's just the policy.
In general, that's what, there's been other policies that had procedure in them in the past that we have now removed from those policies. They don't belong there.
Okay, so all in favor of sending this one to first read? Okay, so the next is H8, which goes along with H7 as the combo, and I make a motion to send this one to first read also.
I'll second that one.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Okay, so next is,
I'm
no,
sorry.
what?
Well, H8 was currently G12.
Yeah, we moved.
Do we
We have to rescind,
Do we rescind?
12?
I don't think
Thanks.
you need to because you're really actually, you're just editing the name of it. So my sense would be, you don't need to rescind for first read and then adopt for first read if you're
Okay.
revising.
That's
So I
fine.
just adopt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I thought about that for a long time
Yeah, we
when
had
I
a
was putting it
So
on the
did we.
agenda here. Yeah. My advice would be, you're just readopting with a new name.
Yeah. Okay, so next,
You probably can do the A1. all those
That's what I'm
As
thinking.
All together.
okay, so
A1, 2,
make
4,
a
and
motion
5.
to send A1, A2, A4, which is currently B3, but we're changing to A, we're trying to, I'll explain after. And A5, which is currently C1, all to first read.
Second.
There you go, discussion.
Any discussion? So, my discussion is, we are trying, Len works very, very hard on this process that we're trying to lump A's, B's, and C's in the correct topics, all in the correct area, so we're trying to refinagle all of the policies so that it's super easy and clear and amazing sections.
So you don't have to know the name of a policy. You
No,
know,
you can
oh,
just
I'm looking
look
for a
at-
student policy, it's in this section. It
Well,
just makes it a little
all
better.
the
to-
A's
Yeah.
will be
Yes.
board operations.
Yes, exactly.
And then
And so if
B's,
you're looking for something in reference to board operation, you go to A's.
Easier to find.
Absolutely. And by eliminating them from being C's, D's in our policy level, number one, it brings it more in tune with the Vermont School Board Association, and it consolidates it so that, I mean, I think we had 3 policies under A, and the rest were all somewhere else.
yeah,
And so this way, if, like, as I say, if you're looking for board operations, that's where you're looking.
And if VSBA changes their A4 policy, we're not going, wait, we don't have an A4 policy, we have a B3 policy. It
Yes.
just makes it
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
easier.
everything's
around.
gonna
Yeah.
hopefully be much clearer, so,
That's the plan.
that's the plan.
That's the goal.
And the big goal.
That's the goal.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Next policy meeting is what the heck is this? November 14th at 5:30 at Mill River. And we will have more.
Okay, we'll get these in the paper.
Okay, so on to buildings and grounds.
So Buildings and Grounds has not met since the last meeting. The last meeting Josh so graciously chaired for me.
Minutes sent in too.
You did?
I almost have them sent in. I got
Almost.
them on the desk.
Was another meeting set or not yet?
We didn't want to
waiting on
set
you.
one.
Okay. That's fine.
for-
Do we want to set one tonight? I mean, I think we have
Yeah.
pretty much all of our members here. We've been doing Tuesday nights. Is anybody available at 5 on November 21st?
Fine with me.
Who else is on your committee?
Or, or, depends on what time, if we do policy and buildings and grounds on the same day, that helps just
fine.
Do you
me.
want to do it at 6:30? We don't have any, you don't have anything before.
Yeah. I'm okay with, I can be very flexible, so
We can do for the
Okay.
14th.
if it's
Are
comfortable
you on
for
buildings and grounds?
What time are you thinking?
What time is what time is this policy?
5:30 to
5:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
So if you did it at 6:30 to 7:30.
Or if we could do
At 4:30.
earlier, if people can do 4:30, then I think it's better for Tim.
And Doug
Oh,
and
yeah.
Paul and Bruce.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or is 4:30 okay for you?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
4:30. Paul, is that
4:30.
good?
It'll be 4:30 on Tuesday, the 14th.
All right, perfect.
I'd like to
Perfect.
retire.
Okay, so next is community engagement.
So we had a meeting tonight. We continued our discussion about what will the board newsletter look like, what will be the distribution channels, what will be our first topic of agendas, and then some of that carried over into tonight's meeting, which was a great discussion. Our next meeting is November 15th at 6 PM.
All right, negotiations.
Negotiations has not met. Brian, where do we
By,
stand?
by design, because we
Yeah.
were doing our formal notification to the union of intent to bargain.
Yep.
They responded. I actually just chatted with them last week, end of the week, and they're thinking early November would be the likely when they would like to get started.
Works for
So I wonder if we look at like the week in November 6th as our tentative first meeting.
Okay.
And then we wonder what's a good day and time that could work consistently for folks. So that's Matt, Len, Cindy, Josh.
I guess once you hear back from them on more concrete, let us know and we'll get it scheduled.
Fair enough. I guess, and I'd like to hear a little input if that's okay. I would bet that they would rather meet close to the end of the day rather than like a 6 PM or a 7 PM. Does that?
We
like,
used to meet at 3:30,
Yeah.
I think. It was 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Does an early like 3:30, 4 o'clock meeting work for everybody there?
So I don't get out of work
Okay.
until 3:30, but
Okay.
I could be there for
Okay.
4.
4 o'clock?
And
Okay.
Mondays and Tuesdays,
Okay.
I cannot do.
Okay. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
All right.
Bet Friday's not going to be our day.
Wednesday or Thursday.
So probably Wednesday or Thursday, 4 PM.
Is there, for the first meeting at least, is there a way that can we do a meeting before the official meeting?
Yeah, so say if we meet at 4, what I might recommend is, why don't we meet 4 to 4:30? You can meet 4 to 4:30, we'll all meet at 4:30, so that they have time, because I bet they'll appreciate that time too. I think they're gonna have a fairly new team. Some of the folks who had been negotiating for years and years are cycling out, just because, they've done a lot of work and need to cycle new membership in.
So I have a question.
Yep.
Is it okay for us to go through the contract and
Yeah.
if there's anything that I see
Yeah,
that I'm
absolutely.
like, oh, you know what,
Absolutely.
maybe this is something that might need to be is it okay to kind of play
100%.
with it and bring that
100%.
idea?
And we have already met with our leadership team, our principals, our department heads, and started looking at that too. I actually had been keeping a running list of things over the last 2 years or so, because every once in a while the business office will say oh, comprehensive course fees, what does that mean? Because these people call it a tech fee, and so I've got a list of some things that the business office would like. I've got a list of some things that maybe principals or department heads would like. Hearing some things that the board would like. Great.
Yeah, I just know that there's stuff that
Yeah.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
from staff
Sure.
that
Sure.
I'm like, maybe I'll take
Yep.
a look at that and just kind of.
Absolutely. Because what we will want to do is we will want to have our language proposals, because one of the ground rules that we will likely agree to would be something along the lines of no new proposals after the second or third
I
meeting.
think
I think we did.
it was the second meeting the last time.
Was it the second or the third?
Well,
We-
it was different between the two groups we negotiated with.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think with the teachers,
Yeah.
it was after the second, yeah.
But we'll want to have a head start on some of that, just so that we know where we're going to go. Yeah, so that's a great idea, Cindy. Reviewing the contract sometime before that week of November 6th. That's great. That gives me enough to connect back with them and see what works for them. Wednesday, Thursday, 4 PM, probably what we're looking at, and I'll let you know when we get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance.
Been a lot of fun.
Are you okay to read the?
Yep.
Without Liz here? I know she sent out the email, I didn't know if you'd
I
responded.
do not mind doing that at all. I told her if nobody else wants to, I will, so.
I mean, I can go right ahead.
So I have a payroll warrant dated 10/18/23, fiscal year '24, regular budget, total of $688,232.68. And I would ask for a motion to approve that as read. Doug, thank you.
Second.
Doug and Paul. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Oh, so I can't do that, sorry.
All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
All opposed?
Unanimous?
Any renege? Bruce?
My hand was up.
Oh, okay.
Pay attention.
Why I thought I didn't see
You were
it.
talking, my hand was up.
All right. Sorry.
I have another from the general fund, pay orders dated 10/18/23. From the general fund of $761,230.42. A second from the general fund of $9,484.64 for a total of $770,715.06. I have a student activities, Mill River, $2,329.62. And then Tinmouth, $606.11 for a total from the student activities of $2,935.73. I would ask for a motion to approve those pay orders as read. Doug, thank you.
I'll second it.
You.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Did you see Bruce that time?
I did see Bruce that time.
There you go.
Stared him down.
I did. Do we know when the next finance, or we'll just announce?
Oh,
Isn't it
tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Yep. We have our budget forum at 4 o'clock in the library, and then we're going to have our finance meeting in the central office conference room directly following that at 5.
Okay. Perfect. Any other legal business that we need to go through?
Bruce?
Yeah, we had said at the last meeting that we were going to have an update on the Tinmouth situation.
Oh, yeah. There's no update at this point in time.
So the update is there is no update.
Yep.
Yep.
Have they talked with the church?
So Maureen's continuing to do that work, and I was thinking the modular unit was more the
No.
Maureen's still exploring that, and we had some conversations last week about, I think, the two things: asbestos remediation, because there's some tiles that are up. That's one thing that we have to get sorted, and then from the fire marshal having smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Those are really the two items that we're trying to
Well, that's easy.
continue working on. Yep.
Relatively.
So we're just waiting.
Yep.
So how are we working on the asbestos thing?
So generally, that's when we seek to lease a space, we don't generally do work to make the space appropriate for our needs. So we're talking to the church right now to say, if you really do want us to lease this space, then the space has to be, safe and up to code. So really, the church needs to figure out doing some of that work.
So are we putting some pressure on the church to get it done?
Not putting pressure on them, I think.
I think some pressure needs to be put because it's been 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, but I think the church is, I think we have to be mindful that the church is trying to help out, and we don't want to.
Yeah, I am. They said that they were interested in doing it. So I just want to know that they don't. I know how easy it is to say, yeah, we're going to do this, and then before you know it, a month has gone by, and the students are getting shortchanged.
Maureen, thank you, Doug. Maureen is in conversation with him,
Okay.
absolutely, but.
I'm going to ask again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So
Fair
let's
enough.
put it on the agenda for
Yep.
in 2 weeks.
Yep. That's a challenge, just because finding somebody who has the certification to do the remediation might be harder to do. So, Maureen is trying to work with the church to figure out, as the church figures out, wow, how much are these improvements going to cost? What does rent need to look like to make sense for if we're going to make all these improvements? So I think it's a little more of a back and forth than just Maureen pressuring, because if the church has to make a lot of improvements, they might have to charge more rent, to make up for that.
So have we even thought about any other option?
Right now, the modular unit and the church are the options we're exploring. We were talking a little bit earlier about enrollment. Another option is we stop admitting in-district transfer students. Generally, when we have in-district transfer students, we look at class sizes and, I'll reach out to Kristen and I'll say, Kristen, I've got a family interested in Shrewsbury, 3rd grade. How's that class look? What's the size? Could we accommodate? So when we have those conversations with Tinmouth, so far it's, yeah, we've got space we can accommodate. So that may be, yes, we have space we can accommodate is interesting because that seems to be in conflict with how some people feel that there's not space there. So that's something that we can absolutely look at, and we can limit the number of students we have in Tinmouth.
As long as somebody's doing it, that's all I'm.
Yeah. So I think church, modular, and really looking at enrollment and not admitting new students that aren't residents, that could solve that problem a little bit too.
And I think that, the reality of that problem is that there's a large percentage, or there's a high chance that those students then choose to leave the district.
Could be.
Which is, that would be a very last resort option.
Okay, so let's put it on the agenda for in 2 weeks.
Got it.
Maybe Maureen, give us an update before.
And I wouldn't ask her to come just
No,
to do
I
that.
mean,
I'll
just
get one
email.
from her.
Email us an update so that we can discuss it on that agenda
And
item.
we're gonna get numbers on the elementary schools, right? I thought we.
Yeah, I told you, thank you, because let's get that on agenda building. I told you that I was going to get you numbers around the in-district transfer.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Because I would have forgotten that. Thank you, actually. I didn't write that down earlier.
Anything else we want on the agenda?
Let me look and see what we have
Do we have scheduled stuff?
Okay.
Because you're like.
So for November,
Had with it, right?
Best friend.
likely that we could have a Mill River presentation. I need to check in and see if there was a department that would be ready for November 1.
Okay.
I can check with Ed, and I don't know if Ed would be ready, but we've got some options, so I'll put a Mill River presentation on for November 1.
Well, that would fit with the idea of looking at tech ed students and all those kinds of things.
Yep.
We can get
That'd be appropriate if that would work. I don't want to schedule him without checking with him to make sure it works.
Yeah, because I never told them a specific time. I just said,
No,
hey.
fair enough. Okay.
Question?
Yes.
No conversation. I've got to take off a little early.
We're almost done.
Mostly everybody, hopefully everybody remembered there was an accident 4 days ago. A lady up in Rutland was hit by a truck and passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the pedestrian.
She was good friends with my daughter, who didn't know it was her that was killed until yesterday. So she's sort of doing a little bit of a problem. I got to go a little earlier than I normally would do. Everything should be okay. Hopefully. Good kid. It's a nice lady. She should not have been walking at nighttime.
All right, do we have anything else?
At nighttime, wear something not black, not dark brown.
Reflective.
Wear something that's reflective. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're going to save your own life.
I don't know what.
The transfer.
Oh, yeah. Anything else we want? We good? Adjourned.
Okay. By
9:02.
consensus. Thank you, everybody.